Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's having a great week. I'm enjoying these morning talks on the microbiota and how it works, what we should be doing to make sure it remains healthy. And today I would like to talk about why we even care, what it does for us, how it impacts our health. I think the science right now is a little scarce on the topic because there's so much research still being done. In the last 10 years, a ton of research has come out, but I really like to dig into specific mechanisms, and sometimes I'm not being able to find that right now. But we still can tell through the studies that there's a lot of aspects of our health that's being affected by our microbiome and our microbiota. So I think I spoke a little bit the other day about this, but I want to reiterate that, our digestive tract we think of it as being inward facing, like the inside of our body, but really it's outward facing. It interacts with our environment by what we put in our mouth and the food that we eat and the things that we digest. And that is where most of our immune system is, and our body has to interact with that outward environment. And as Dr. Erica Sonnenberg likes to say at the Stanford lab, is good fences make good neighbors. So we have all of these organisms, the microbiota, on the inside. We have our gut lining, the intestinal lining, this mucus wall, and then we have all of our intestinal cells and immune cells on the other side. And what happens is, if you don't have a good microbiota, that mucus lining starts to thin, and they've shown this in animal models. It starts to thin and the integrity starts to become compromised. And when all of those little organisms start to get closer to our intestinal cells and our cytokines, then we start to have an inflammatory cascade. So inflammation begins to occur. And in some people, that inflammation might turn out looking like heart disease. It might turn out looking like Crohn's or MS. Like psoriasis is one of the most studied. They actually have a really good mechanism for how that occurs. And all of these things, certainly IBS or diverticulitis, things like this, which is sort of obvious because they're conditions of the gut, but everything else, high cholesterol, it presents itself differently in different people, depending on other aspects of our health, but it's really implicated with the inflammation happening, with our gut lining being compromised. So all of these chronic illnesses are on the rise, even as modern medicine is advancing, because our diet is declining. The amount of fiber that we intake, I think we used to, when we were hunter-gatherers, we were taking in 150 to 200 grams of fiber, and now the average American is eating 12, 15 grams of fiber. And the amount of the different types of fiber there's so many that they can't even be identified right now. So we know that the organisms in our colon need all sorts of different types of fiber, and because we can't even identify those fibers, it's not enough to just do Metamucil. We need to be eating different varieties of vegetables, as many different kinds of food and fiber as we can. So that's kind of, the big picture of how all of these chronic illnesses are being caused by a lack of gut health. Another thing that we can talk about is the immune system. That's just a big topic right now. Why are some people okay when they're exposed to a virus and other people are not? And your gut microbiota seems to have a lot to do with it. I think people don't realize how much control they really have over their immune system and how often they get sick. It's kind of like, oh, up to chance. Some people get sick, some people don't. But the amount of sleep you get, the amount of exercise you get, the amount of chronic stress you expose your body to, and the health of your gut, these are all things that truly have real and a lot of times immediate impact on your immune system. So these are really things that you should be taking care of. The last thing I'll talk about is weight and obesity. There's kind of a famous study that people like to reference from the Stanford lab in regards to mice, where they took normal mice and then they transplanted. They took the normal mice were in a sterile environment and they transplanted the gut microbiota from an obese set of mice into half of them and from a lean set of mice into half of them. And all the mice were fed the same exact diet, same exact caloric intake. And the mice with the obese microbiota became obese, and the mice with lean microbiota stayed normal. So that's kind of another testament to the fact that the whole idea of calories in, calories out, just burn more than you eat, is kind of an antiquated thing when you're talking about metabolism. So it's interesting, what comes first? Does the bad microbiome come first and then it makes you gain weight the other way? I don't think scientists are really sure right now. It could be both, in my opinion. But what I do know is that we do have autonomy over our bodies and what we choose to put in our bodies, and the health of our gut, through our food, our fiber intake, probiotics potentially. And if you are somebody who's really trying to lose weight and it's being stubborn, this is your gut health is something that you have to think about, of course, along with your stress and exercise. But quality of food in regards to your nutrition and your gut health there's lots and lots of studies out now proving that it has a profound impact on your metabolism. And this is a little unrelated, but I just think it's really cool. A woman in her third trimester of pregnancy, her microbiota will become scarce like that of an obese person. So in lean individuals, they have a very diverse microbiota, lots of different organisms, lots of different bugs, doing all sorts of different functions, but in an obese individual, those organisms die off or become dormant, or their health is not good. And in the third trimester of pregnancy, your body does that on purpose. Your body makes it so that you have a scarce microbiota, and the thought behind it is that so you can conserve calories and you can gain weight. But when the baby's born, even though they're seeded, if you have a vaginal delivery, by your own microbiota, they still have a microbiome that looks consistent with the first trimester of pregnancy. So that's kind of a cool little magic trick that happens that I think is really interesting. Those are some of the reasons why the microbiome is so important. I think maybe tomorrow or the next day we'll start to talk about probiotics and a lot of myths and confusion around them. I hope you guys have a great week, day, rest of your morning. I love you guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.